Hi guys, in this video, I'm going to have an exam review session with a past paper. The paper is IB Economics Paper 2 HL from November 23 exam. Let's give it a go. Question number 1 is about the country Costa Rica. A1. Define the term import substitution indicated in bold in the text. It refers to a trade and economic policy that advocates replacing foreign imports with domestic production. A2, list two components of the Happy Planet Index indicated in bold in the table. Happy Planet Index includes alternative and qualitative measures like life expectancy and inequality. B1, using information from text A, paragraph 3, and the Keynesian multiplier, calculate the increase in GDP due to the investment made by Intel. The text says the MPC is 0.8, so I can use the value to get the multiplier, which is 5. And then I multiply the value with the investment that Intel put, which is $300 million. Therefore, the answer is going to be this one. B2, sketch a monopoly diagram and indicate the welfare laws if the state-owned monopoly in the telecommunication industry was maximizing profit. This is the monopoly diagram having welfare laws in the shaded area. Question C, using a Lorenz curve diagram, explain how extensive transfer payment may have changed the income distribution in Costa Rica. So when the government provides extensive transfer payments, it can improve the overall income level and living standard of low-income households. So it can decrease income inequality of the country, as you can see from the shrinking size of the Lorenz curve from A to B. Question D. Using a labor market diagram, explain the possible impact on Costa Rica's unemployment rate of increasing the minimum wage. Higher minimum wage decreases the labor demand of the firms due to the rise of the production cost for them. However, it increases the labor supply of the workers since it gives higher wage incentives. Therefore, it's going to lead to an increase in the unemployment rate, which is excess supply. Question E. Using an exchange rate diagram, explain how the change in the trade balance after 1997 may have changed the value of the colon, which is Costa Rica's currency. According to the text, the country experienced a trade surplus after 1997. And it means that there were higher exports than imports. So higher export demand must have led to higher demand for the currency colon because foreign consumers would have needed the currency to pay for the export. So it must have led the appreciation of the currency. Question F. Using an externalities diagram, explain how the overuse of chemicals in the market for agriculture could result in market failure. Overuse of chemicals in the production of agriculture industry creates external social costs, such as river pollution. And it means that the industry over-allocates the resources, thus making the society go through welfare loss. Question G. Using information from the text, data, and your knowledge of economics, evaluate the effectiveness of the economic policies implemented by Costa Rica's government in achieving economic growth and development. Introduction will briefly introduce the country's economic state using the given data, and then I can include the definition of economic growth and economic development by connecting them to the given question. In body 1, my evaluation is going to be on the policies that are aiming to achieve economic growth. And then I'm going to focus on the short-term and quantitative features. Let's talk about the pros of the government's fiscal policies. The government guaranteed to provide public education to all citizens, and it provided extensive transfer payments and increased the minimum wage, which must have contributed to achieve 4% of consistent economic growth. And those above must have contributed to decrease the absolute poverty rate as well. However, as a result of the policies, high government debt accumulated, and despite the policies, unemployment rate is increasing, and the poverty has remained unchanged for a number of years. Also, the government is unable to redistribute income effectively due to the regressive tax system, and the social programs are not reaching to the very poor. Second type of policy that Costa Rica's government conducted is trade liberalization policy. When it comes to the pros of the policy, the general trade agreement made can increase variety of goods available, lower the product prices, and increase export opportunities. Also, it secured reliable trading relationships, and the trade liberalization policy allowed more competition in the country. There's monopolies dismantled, which benefit consumers with low prices, more choices, etc. However, the cons exist as well. What's concerning is the over-reliance on the trade relationship with the US, and the increased exports may threaten biodiversity in the country. In Body 2, the evaluation is going to be on the policies that are aiming to achieve economic development, and I'm going to focus on their long-term and qualitative features. Let me start talking about the green trademark environmental policy. And its noticeable pros would include the positive environmental impact that it created, and it allowed the country to become a global leader in conservation efforts. Also, the country is one of the countries with the greatest biodiversity in the world. Nonetheless, the policy has cons as well. First, it has too high opportunity cost, and there is pressure on government maintaining the policy. And there is conflict in government objectives of growth versus preservation. And there are more external costs of economic growth. Next is about the policy to attract foreign direct investment. FDI allowed for the transition to a higher valued products production, and foreign firms trained domestic workers, increasing human capital, productivity, blah, blah, blah. Also, obviously, as I calculated from the previous question, there is multiplier impact of the foreign investment. About the cons, generous tax exemptions given to the foreign firms resulted in poor government revenue, and it worsened the poverty, and government lacks resources to redistribute income. Also, FDI's effectiveness is limited and not very sustainable because the costs are increasing, and poor infrastructure of the country makes the effectiveness decreasing. And the increased FDI and following development projects may threaten the state of biodiversity in the country. Last is about the export diversification policy. When it comes to talking about the pros, the export subsidies given to manufacturing sector boost the domestic industry sectors, and followingly jobs created, which are beneficial to labor productivity. And the subsidies for new technology and high valued goods allow farmers to become more productive, competitive, and earning higher revenue. However, firms may become too reliant on the subsidies, leading them to become less efficient in the long run. And the excessive focus on higher valued products and the manufacturing sector created the jobs only within the sector, which is not really contributing to decrease the poverty state of the country. And the government subsidies are rarely sustainable due to high government debt. Also, the pollution and related external costs are increasing due to the increased manufacturing sector with the subsidies. So it can naturally make the country find difficult to meet the carbon emissions reduction standard. All right, that's the end of question number 1. Question 2 is about the country Cambodia. Question A1. Define the term human capital indicated in bold in the text. Human capital is a concept considered useful in the production process. It encompasses employee knowledge, skills, know-how, good health, and education. Question A2. Define the term asymmetric information indicated in bold in the text. Asymmetric information is a type of market failure that refers to a state where one party has more or better information than the other. Question B1. Using information from Table 3, calculate Cambodia's real GDP for 2019. According to the table, the country's population in 2019 is 16.49 million, and the real GDP per capita given is 4,000 something. So by using the two values, I can simply get the real GDP, which is this one. Question B2. Using an ADAS diagram to show the possible impact on Cambodia's economy of the change in consumer confidence. The text says there is improved consumer confidence, and it would shift the AD to the right, as illustrated at the diagram. Question C. Using an international trade diagram for the EU, explain how the EU ending the preferential trade agreement with Cambodia might impact the export revenue of Cambodia's garment producers. Due to the end of the preferential trade agreement, in the EU market, imported products from Cambodia would become more expensive, as illustrated with the PW plus tariff compared to the previous PW. Thus, the quantity imported will decrease from Q1, Q4 to Q2, Q3. So to Cambodia's garment producers, it means that their export revenue would decrease as much as the amount of the shaded area. Question D. Using a demand and supply diagram, explain the possible impact of price controls on rent for housing and its social community surplus. The ceiling imposed on rent makes the legal price set below the free market equilibrium price. Therefore, it gives disincentives to the housing suppliers and decreases the housing quantity supplied, creating a shortage and causing a loss in community surplus. Question E. Using an externalities diagram, explain how the market failure in the garment industry could be reduced with adoption of the circular economy. The circular economy is a model of production and consumption which involves reusing, repairing, refurbishing, and recycling existing products, and it implies reducing waste to a minimum. And when the garment industry adopts the system, it can decrease both the social cost and private production cost, such as pollution and waste. Thus, it can decrease the welfare loss and lead the market output closer to the socially optimal level. Question F. Using a circular flow of income diagram, explain the impact increased microfinance could have on the Cambodian economy. Increased microfinance can enable individuals or small businesses to access investment on capital or other related things, so it can increase injection into the circular flow, and it can contribute to economic growth as well. Question G. Using information from the text, data, and your knowledge of economics, evaluate the impact of social enterprise and microfinance on Cambodia's economic growth and development. Introduction will briefly introduce the country's economic state by using the given data, and then I can include the definitions of social enterprise, microfinance, economic growth and development by connecting them to the given question. In Body 1, the evaluation will be on the effectiveness of social enterprise when it comes to achieving economic growth and development. First, let me start with its pros. Social enterprise can provide job and training opportunities for young people and contribute to decrease high youth unemployment rates, which can be an answer to solve the current labor market needs. And it can contribute to increase human capital in the country. Also, it can decrease reliance on garment industry. And considering the environmental objectives that the social enterprises have, it may help solving the market failure associated with garment industry's production. Lastly, their environmental objectives could support the growth of the ecotourism sector in the country. Next is about its limitations. The operation of social enterprises are hindered by existing bureaucracy and high tax rates, and the lack of infrastructure may not support new entry of enterprises. Also, the problems with funding and skilled labor limit success rates, which can lead to an inefficient use of resources. The thing is, given the weak systemic and administrative framework of the country, the operation of social enterprise may stay in the informal sector, not necessarily contributing to tax revenue or access government support. Lastly, the organization's success could be hindered by minimum wage increase. Next body is about the evaluation on the effectiveness of microfinance when it comes to achieving economic growth and development. First, the pros of the microfinance is that it positively worked when the foreign aid was withdrawn. And as checked from the first pro, basically it provides a means of credit for rural poor people, and it can encourage more domestic investment, which can lead to less reliance on FDI. Also, since it allows more productive economic activities for the rural poor people, it can help decrease inequalities of the country and help solving asymmetric information in economic activities. Also, microfinance could be used to fund the social enterprise. And there is positive relationship between number of loans and the GDP per capita. Lastly, microfinance could be used to support the development of the ecotourism industry and take some advantage of the high-income country's people visiting the country. Despite such great features, there are limitations as well. First, it creates problems of household indebtedness, and such situation may cause the poor to lose assets, worsening inequalities. As a result, it may need government intervention, which can cause inefficiencies in the market and less access to loans to the people. And the thing is, customers for microfinance in general lack the financial literacy and skill, so it can hinder the level of positive impact of microfinance. Lastly, currently the interest rates are increasing, so it may inhibit success or ability to access microfinance from the general public. All right, this is the end of paper 2. Thanks for watching. Bye.